Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
I knew something was wrong the moment Gemma poured my wine. The room was dimly lit, golden light flickering off the antique crystal glasses. The long walnut dining table was set for 7, with white roses wilting in the center, their fragrance too sweet, almost suffocating. It was my 29th birthday, and instead of feeling celebrated, I felt watched. Gemma, my mother-in-law, hovered at the head of the table, her smile tight and her eyes calculating. "A toast to Isabella," she said, raising her glass, "to her blossoming career and continued self-awareness." A polite laugh floated around the table, but I didn't miss the way her brother, Frank, frowned slightly confused. Bradley, my husband, offered a weak smile, one hand gripping the stem of his glass, the other under the table, scrolling something on his phone. I looked at the ruby liquid before me. The scent was oddly sharp, bitter, medicinal, too familiar. I'd taken benzodiazepines years ago after a panic attack, and I never forgot that stinging after smell. My pulse fluttered. My gut screamed. And I acted. I leaned forward laughing, and as I reached across to clink glasses, I smoothly swapped mine with Frank's. It was subtle, unnoticed. My hand trembled slightly as I raised the new glass to my lips but didn't drink. Frank, however, took a generous sip. 30 minutes later, as dessert was being served, Frank began to sweat. "I don't feel so good," he murmured, gripping the table. His pupils dilated, his words slurred. Gemma was instantly at his side, panic written across her face. "Frank, what's happening? You barely drank anything." My stomach twisted as I watched her act, because it was exactly that, an act. A little too frantic, a little too loud. Bradley stood up. "Should I call an ambulance?" "No," Gemma said quickly. "He has low blood sugar. He just needs to rest." I saw the fear flicker behind her eyes, less about Frank, more about what was unfolding. I sat silently. Something wasn't right. Gemma fussed over Frank, guiding him to the guest room. I stealthily walked over and took the glass from which Frank had drunk the wine, and which was originally intended for me. I put it in my purse. The rest of the family murmured awkward goodbyes, the dinner cut short. When I finally got Bradley alone in the car, I asked quietly, "Did you notice anything strange about tonight?" He shrugged. "My mom's always a bit much during these dinners. You know that." I turned to the window, hiding my expression. "Yeah," I said softly. But this time, she added a little extra. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in the kitchen, staring at the glass I'd wrapped in a towel and tucked into my bag. I didn't know exactly where I'd find, but I knew what I felt. Gemma tried to pump me full of illegal drugs. I drove to the toxicology lab before sunrise. The glass, sealed in a Ziploc and tucked inside a travel mug, clinked softly against the passenger seat. My palms were damp. I hadn't told Bradley. Not yet. He'd say I was paranoid again, but this time I had something tangible. At the clinic, I signed the paperwork under a false name, Isabel Watson. The technician barely looked up as I slid the mug forward. It was a party mix-up. I lied. I just need to know what was poured into it. What the composition of the drink was. She gave a professional nod. Results in 48 hours. I left the clinic with my heart in my throat. 2 days later, the email came. Presence of benzodiazepines confirmed. Quantity, high. Deliberate. I stared at the screen. My legs went cold. My chest felt hollow. There it was, black and white. Someone had tried to drug me. I didn't cry. I printed the report, grabbed my vlogging tripod, and walked into the living room where Bradley was scrolling on his phone. "Can I film something quick?" I asked casually, setting the camera up. He nodded, distracted. "Sure." I hit record and turned to him. "This," I said, holding up the paper, "is a toxicology report from my birthday wine glass." Bradley blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" "I swapped glasses with Frank. That's why he got sick. Your mother drugged me." His eyes widened. "Isabella. She wanted to discredit me. Make me look unstable." From the hallway, a voice cut through the room, cold, venomous. "Ho, grow up." "Gemma." She stepped inside, arms folded, lips curled. "So you're dragging me on camera now? What next, a Netflix documentary?" I held the paper toward her. "You tried to ruin me." Her eyes flicked to the camera. "And what if I did?" she whispered. "Maybe Bradley needs to see who you really are." Bradley looked between us, frozen. I didn't stop recording. Let the world see what was unfolding. The glass didn't lie. And now neither could she. Bradley hadn't come home the night after the confrontation. His toothbrush was gone. I stared at the empty bathroom sink and tried not to tremble. My phone lit up. No new messages. Only the echo of our last words. "Please, you have to believe me," I pleaded. And his voice, low and wounded. "I don't know what to believe anymore, Isa. She's my mother." The footage had gone viral. Over 2 million views. But in our house, it didn't matter. Gemma had struck first, sending him screenshots of old texts taken out of context, spinning tales of how I joked about manipulation, about faking anxiety for sympathy. All fabricated, twisted. Now Bradley was floating in the middle of a storm, unsure who to anchor to. At brunch with his cousin Danielle, I overheard it all. She didn't know I was behind her at the cafe. "He's a wreck," she said, sipping her mimosa. "He thinks Isabella staged it. That she poisoned Frank just to frame Gemma." I stepped back, heart splitting. That night, I left a sealed envelope on Bradley's pillow. Inside, a printout of Gemma's medical prescriptions for benzodiazepines, dated the day before my birthday. All real, all traceable. I left a note too. The truth doesn't scream. It waits. And eventually, it's undeniable. I didn't sleep that night, just stared at the ceiling. When love starts to look like doubt, you begin to wonder if it was ever love at all. The email came at 3:07 a.m. Subject: "You deserve to know. Leonard." Attached was a single video file. I hesitated only for a breath before clicking. There she was, Gemma, in my kitchen the night of my birthday, glancing over her shoulder like a cartoon villain. She slipped something from her coat pocket, sprinkled it into a wine glass, and stirred with a silver spoon from my drawer. I paused the frame. Her face, calm, composed, intentional. I drove straight to Leonard's apartment at sunrise. "You filmed that?" I asked breathlessly. "No," he said. "Dad installed cameras after Gemma accused the housekeeper of theft. Forgot to tell her they were cloud connected." I stared at him. "Why now?" "Because I saw how she turned Bradley against you, and I know her too well." I nodded slowly. "Will you testify?" Leonard hesitated. "If it comes to that, yes." At home, I edited the footage, clean, chronological, irrefutable, and scheduled it to post on YouTube and Facebook at 8:00 p.m. sharp. The title? "When Trust is Poisoned." Literally. And as the file uploaded, I whispered to myself, she picked the wrong daughter-in-law. By morning, the video had gone viral. Over 5.2 million views in 12 hours. Comments flooded in, strangers calling Gemma a monster in pearls. Others urging Bradley to wake up. At 11:14 a.m., my phone lit up with his name. I let it ring. By noon, Gemma's workplace issued a formal suspension, citing conduct damaging to the institution's reputation. Friends unfriended her publicly, and neighbors left her on read. Bradley showed up on our doorstep at dusk, eyes bloodshot. "I'm sorry," he said. "She confessed. Everything. Even trying to have you hospitalized as unstable." I didn't want to believe it. I didn't step aside. "You didn't believe me when it mattered," I said. "You let her break us." He stood frozen. "Do you want me to leave?" I didn't answer. I just closed the door in his face. Later that night, I posted one last update. Justice served, cold like her intentions. As I packed my suitcase for a solo trip to Santorini, I smiled, not because it was over, but because I had survived it, filmed it, and finally, escaped it.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.